historic DNVR Rockies podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons, here to discuss a 25-1, frankly, in honor of Shohei Ohtani, shit show. We will call it. And joining me for the first time on the DNVR Rockies pod, longtime contributor to the DNVR.com, Mike Olson.
Hey, it's a great time to be here, man. I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, you're in that right place at the right time, because as a guy who was raised here in Colorado, you know the history of sports incredibly well. Anyone that reads your stuff knows that. And of course, we'll get to the fact that the Rockies did win this series.
They won this series. They won today. It was such a great game today.
The run differential was still negative 20. They could have won 20-0 on Sunday, and they still wouldn't have scored as many runs as the Angel. That being said, the run differential, it was minus 20, only the second time in Major League history. Goes back to like 1887. Teams with made-up names. No, it was the Louisville Colonels and the Chicago Colts. Colonels later became the Pittsburgh Pirates. Colts, of course, became the Cubs. So,
23-0 after 4 last night, wasn't it?
It was
something like that.
Bad, yeah. Britton Doyle hadn't hit for the first hour and a half of the game.
Oh my God.
It was like 15-0. It's like, give that guy a chance. Eduardo Escobar scored 4 runs in the first 4 innings of his first game with the Angels, because he had just been acquired. We'll talk about the Mike Moustakas trade. We'll get to all of that. But for you, Mike, where does this rank? Maybe it's different because it's baseball, but where does this rank as far as like just bad losses or embarrassing losses or statement losses? Is there such a thing in Denver sports history to get drubbed 25-1 like that on Saturday night?
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, you know, you've got all the youth playing right now, so it's a lot of. It's not that there's not a lot of mistakes happening, but you've got something that historic that comes down the pipe. You literally could have wiped out that 23-0 score after 4 innings, and they still lost 2-1 after that, right? I mean, it was rough. It was a rough night. I think if I'm a player, I walk away and I say it's just an L, and I try to get up for today, and they won it, and so maybe they were able to do that. But man, I will never forget watching last night's game from home. It was brutal. It was tough.
Yeah, it was. It's hard to put into words the 25-1 just in general with how things were. As you said, they're playing the young guys, so that's positive. That was a frequent comment by so many of the players and coaches, just that, you know, it is one game. Wrote about this for free. It's over at the DNVR.com about, hey, the loss in the 2017 NL wildcard game. Way worse of a loss, not score-wise, but way worse of a loss. Yeah. Same thing, all 4 games in the 2007 World Series. That's really bad.
Those are the tough ones.
It's just embarrassing. And, you know, to use a baseball phrase, they say, hey, you got to flush it. That might be a 2-flusher. I'm just going to say that. That might be a 2-flusher.
A top decker, yeah.
Yeah. It was rough, but they came back. They do get the series win, and there's 13 runs that were scored in that 3rd inning, 16 batters faced, club record. So they nearly batted around twice. They batted around the 3rd and the 4th inning, 10 hits in that inning. They gave up 24 hits total. No, 25 hits. It was really hard to keep track. Legitimately, I said this as a joke numerous times. My hand legitimately hurts. I think it was from keeping score. I said, you know, be careful out there, folks. With a scorecard, you could develop carpal tunnel syndrome. I said it as a joke, and my hand actually is kind of sore today.
I was gonna say, did you say that like 7 runs in? Because it got old.
It was rough. And it's Shohei Ohtani, 1 for 7. That's it. You kept him quiet. The scouting report was great. The execution against him was great on Saturday. Yeah. Only problem, 8 other guys in that lineup.
I think the moment that hurt the worst was that back-to-back on 3 consecutive pitches.
Yes.
Just, man, three runs on 3 pitches is, whew, tough day.
It just kept building and definitely climaxing in the ballpark where the fans said, there's something going on here right now. And the Rockies couldn't stop the bleeding. As you said, 3 consecutive pitches thrown by Chase Anderson, 3 consecutive home runs. Hadn't happened since, I want to say, 95, like Mark Thompson.
It's been like 20 years.
Caros, Piazza, Mondesi, something like that. Last time in MLB history a player had given up 3 home runs on 3 consecutive pitches, also Chase Anderson, when he was a member of the Toronto Blue Jays during the pandemic season against the Yankees. Gardner, Luke Vogt, they were the outside two. And the middleman that linked them together, former Rocky DJ LeMahieu.
way.
This is kind of the beauty of baseball, how
Yeah.
all these things are linked together. Yeah, 21 runs between the third and fourth inning, tied for most in a 2-inning span in MLB history, with a game in 1894 and a game in 1890. So basically the Rockies are in the same group as the 1890 Buffalo Bisons, who only played for one season before they were defunct, and the 1894 Boston Beaneaters, and now the Colorado Rockies.
You know, what's a 120-something-year-old record between friends? So,
Yeah.
oh, my God. Wow. Maybe the Moustakas trade was just sort of you get 20 runs, you get a free player or something like that. Is that a...
That makes sense.
Oof.
He didn't actually stretch with the team yesterday, and it was one of those random things you don't even file it away as a note. You just notice it, at least for me. And I go, oh, Moustakas is not stretching with the teams. Charlie Blackmon on the IL stretching with the team. Again, he's just has a cast on his wrist and hand, but he's still able to do calisthenics and do all that, lead the drills. But Moustakas went in. I go, he's a veteran. He knows how to get himself ready for a game. Thought nothing of it until post game. So, did they work this deal out just before the game? Were they working on it during the game? And they thought, let's kind of talk. Let's deal with that, after the game. I did want to talk with you, Mike, in the final segment, but then Saturday night happened. Just this idea of are there any takes left on the Colorado Rockies and just the state of their franchise? Because I really feel like last night's game spoke volumes to, hey, can you summarize the Colorado Rockies in like the last 5 seasons? Saturday night was that. Is there any other take than that?
I don't know. I think you're right, but I think simultaneously that the take ends up being both of the things you said. I think it's both the fact that they got blown out last night and somehow still won this series, right? And that is very telling of them right now. They're very up and down. Their ups have been really great to see, and you feel like there's a lot of talent amongst the youth on this crew, man. They are, when they're clicking, they're doing so well, and I think there's some good things to come. But there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way, and last night was hopefully the biggest example of that. So.
Yeah, and on a night and on a year in which the Avs had just won the Stanley Cup in 22, Nuggets win in 2023. It's Broncos country, so they're always going to be the leader of their pack, and they're always one legendary quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. They may have one right now. Yeah. And you've got the Rockies as this outlier where when they came into the league, almost immediately it felt like in 1993 here in Denver, they were already like the number 2 team in so many ways. Avs didn't even exist. But even still, you could have even said through, much of the 2000s, even after the Avs were really good, you can make the case Rockies are still the second best or second most popular team in Colorado. And I don't know if you'd say the second most successful in general, but with the way fans are still coming out and supporting, you might want to make that case. But again, the win-loss record and just how they've kind of operated really suggests otherwise.
I was writing about this last week. I'm so only sad to see the fact that when the Rockies came out of the gates, this town was so hungry 30 years ago for baseball that we were first place in attendance for, was it maybe the first 8 seasons? You'd probably remember better than me. And still, they've been in the top 10 most of their history. The only time they slid below that 10 spot was back around the Rocktober era. They had 2 or 3 years that went below, and then they have that big success, and they pop themselves back up above the line. They're 11th this year, in attendance, and that's weird to see for a Rockies team, right? And I don't see Rocktober coming around the corner anytime soon. What is it going to take around here to get the Rockies back in the broader conversation with everything you were just talking about?
Yeah, they've got, the prospects in the pipeline, but they're so far away. And again, just talking with so many people around the team and who cover the Rockies in Denver, that they could trade away all these veteran guys, and they very well should for the future. But also the idea that when we say, let the kids play, it's let the kids that are already on the roster. There aren't a ton of kids right now in AAA that are ready other than, I don't even want to throw names out there because I'm going to forget somebody, but there are guys that are on the 40-man roster that will get another opportunity. It'll be interesting to see if Riley Pine can, get lightning in a bottle and sustain that. But, we'll eventually see Aaron Schunk, maybe Jeff Criswell will make a start. But as far as like their top prospects, now with Veen out for the rest of the year, it's still going to be a couple more years. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were inactive in the 2021 trade deadline, where Jim Bowden said that there was an MLB exec called their activity at the deadline of making one deal was malpractice. And then in 2022, they followed up by being the only team in MLB to not make a single trade. No one said anything because, hey, that's just the Rockies. And that's kind of how they're treated in so many ways.
I tell you how much I watch the show and it's something that literally I remember you talking about as it was happening in 21 and 22 for sort of the forward-looking idea of where this was all headed. There's no depth there. There's, they've got a few bodies down below, but, AAA, AA, they're light, and they really need to shore those coffers back up. And I wonder who does that. I wonder when they finally come around to the idea of we need this type of depth to be competitive in this situation. I mean,
right.
Look at this division. You're gonna have to get outside of the box a little bit to make this work and just stay out of last place most of the time. So we'll see.
Yeah, they've got a long road ahead of them still. And again, as much as you may want to point at the farm system right now, because it's very much improved since the 2020 draft with Veen and Romo, both those guys still have so much to prove. You've got a way to go, and those prospects have a way to go, because I was talking with my buddy Aaron, works at the ballpark, that a guy who might be an all-star in high A is just a regular player. Not all all-stars in high A or low A just become everyday players or fourth outfielders. Some of them continue to sustain and become superstars, but not all of them, it's not guaranteed that that's going to pan out. So you need so many of them. And hopefully the Rockies got themselves a new one. We'll address that here in just a second. Today's game 4-3, I think, was the final score. My head's still spinning with everything. Justin Lawrence comes on, gets the save, makes it interesting.
Barely got the save. Yeah, made it very interesting at the end there.
It was good. I think, we did put it out there on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. Are you happy with Lawrence? Should he be the guy closing and saving games? Was talking with somebody about it post-game. I think so. I think Lawrence is that guy. If Bard can really get himself back, ERA is real low, and you go, come on, this guy's phenomenal. As Kevin Henry from Fansided pointed out to me, his fielding independent pitching, which is a very nerdy statistic in some ways, but basically this is a formula that you say, forget the actual results on the field. Let's look at the things the pitcher can control: walks, strikeouts, and home runs. If you just look at that, Bard's ERA is a lot closer to 5. So there's some luck involved in that. Yeah. But if Bard can actually get himself back and right, you know what? There's going to be more critical spots sometimes in the 6th, 7th, or 8th. So throw him out there, and Lawrence can get all the glory and do that and start building his resume as kind of the next, Adam Ottavino that maybe can be even better and go beyond than what Otto was during his time. So I very much am fine and like the idea that Lawrence is the closer. Kind of surprised that he was able to take over this early in the year.
I am too. I'm not always a fan of the inning at a time platoon like they were doing today. I especially think when somebody's come in and shows himself well. Man, there's a lot of times I'd give a guy a second inning, and it just doesn't seem to be the way they're programming this right now. But I think especially bringing a sidearm in like that as a closer, it really throws such a loop for those guys who are just starting to get on top of what's going on in the game. And he really seemed like he was really had a couple of issues right at the end there, but it really felt like those last few guys, he was really I've hit a couple of sidearm guys in my life, and having the ball spinning that way, it takes you inside out. It's tough. So
it's like catching a pass, a football from a left-hander, and you're like, what's going on with this ball? I played football before. I've never seen the ball come at me like that. Yeah. It's very strange. Austin Gomber did a nice job. He did start the 6th. Did give up a run. Another one ended up coming in there. Ohtani got himself that triple that he needed on Friday for the cycle. Wasn't able to get it Friday night. But Gomber goes 5 innings, gets some length, gives up 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts.
Finally got to see his knuckle curve today.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Looked
I've never
good.
seen that pitch before, so that was pretty sweet.
He'll throw it on the moon, he said. I know, and he does pretty much, it seems like. And he gets the win, the first win for a Rockies starting pitcher, I want to say about 31 games, first one since May 23rd against Miami. Also at home, also Austin Gomber. How about that?
Wow. I kind of love and hate that stat all at the same time. 31 days. That's terrible. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
What's not terrible is the beers that we have, the company, the vibes here on the corner of Colfax, New York at the DNVR bar, a spot where diehards, you get 15% off your food and drink, 20% off all the gear that we got at dnvrlocker.com, as well as our tailgates and takeovers. In fact, we got 2. We've already dropped 2 takeovers. You can get just the one on July 29th, Saturday, against the Oakland Athletics. We're going to get a win on one of these takeovers, right?
Happen.
So that's how we did it. We scheduled the A's. So we've got that. You know, you get a ticket, you get free beer on the bus. When you come down here to the DNVR bar, we worked it out. Little appetizer, a little free appetizer for yourself while you're there. It's going to be fantastic, lower level seats. And we also have one on September 16th against the San Francisco Giants, second to last weekend at Coors Field. If you want, you can actually bundle both of those together and save even more money. So it's pretty cheap. And again, it's vibes. It's hanging out with the crew that I think takes it to the next level than just going to any old Rockies game.
I love it. I should come down for one. I was down for the Bryce Harper game. I'm 2-0 on the season, so I should come down for a takeover, and we can call one of these a win, hopefully. So.
Harper didn't get hit by a pitch in that game, did he?
He did not. No,
he did not.
Was
he just took umbrage with Jake Bird.
With birds clapping on the way off the field. He was pretty psyched about striking out the side there.
Clapping and flapping.
He was.
Jake Bird.
they were chatty.
New T-shirt. Let's get it in the DNVR locker. Clapping.
Like
well,
Let's
Mike
get
Trout.
D-line on this.
Trout got hit with a pitch today, so I'm like, whoa, there's some weird connections going on, but all right, they're not.
I think he leaned into that.
Yeah, they're not entirely all there. Are you drinking the Mountain Beach Sour today?
I am not. This is the Palisade Peach, and yes, highly
also
recommend
good
it.
summer vibe.
Just beautiful. Yeah.
Also really good. Yeah, the Mountain Beach Sour has more of pineapple notes to it. So a little different, but again, still summer vibe.
After the show, I'll try
with the
one of those.
peach. Yeah, there you go. It's fantastic. And look, go to breckbrew.com to find out where you can locate Breck Brew in your area. 100% Colorado, 100% renewable energy, 100% satisfaction. It's fantastic. It's Breck Brew Mountain Beach Sour. And also 100% Colorado, we're talking illegal Pete's. It's fantastic. We've been, I always talk about it because it always stands out because I remember just turning a corner in downtown Fort Collins and seeing an illegal Pete's. I'm like, oh, I thought this was like, they're only allowed in Denver. And they had like, a rooftop area. And I was like, all of the illegal Pete's are fantastic.
I was there 2 nights ago because we talk about it so much on the show. And I was down and a buddy said, where do you want to go in Fort Collins? And I said, I need a burrito real bad. And we did illegal Pete's. It was perfect. Such good food. Such great folks.
You're doing the ad read for me. Like beers, burritos, and buddies all summer long at illegal Pete's. Especially,
I am built this way on purpose.
There you go. Yeah. It's perfect because you get 5 16-ounce beers for $15 to hang out on the patio. Illegal Pete's. It's friggin' great. So Friday night was a win. Like they had an 8-game losing streak, which is so like, who cares? Anyone can lose 8 games in a row. But 25-1, I mean, that's also just can happen. But yeah. I had never thought to look that up. Losing by 24 runs. Is it more common to lose by 24 runs or to have an 8-game losing streak? 8-game losing streaks, I think, actually happen more frequently.
I'll bet that's right.
Right?
And when I was writing about it last week and I was looking at their pattern, it was like 3 wins and 3 losses and a couple wins, and then 6 losses and a few more wins, and then the 8-game losing streak. And I thought, they win a few, we might never win the second half of the season, basically. So
yeah,
crazy.
Saturday's loss dropped them to worst in the National League. Not worse than baseball because the Kansas City Royals and the Oakland Athletics still exist.
Because the A's are just taking that spot over themselves.
They do.
Wow.
What's also wild in the whole 25-1 loss on Saturday night to the Angels was the fact that the previous franchise worst was 19 runs. That was 26-7 to the Cubs in 95. That was also at Coors. You go, oh, the Cubs scored more runs. But they only lost by 19. Like, 5 more. So the record is like, man, we're approaching the record. They blew the record out of the water. Or what's the opposite of blowing something out of the water? They shot it into outer space. I don't.
It's brutal.
They don't make thesauruses.
You were there last night, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I was forced. That's it. There are no chains that even bound me to the desk that I was at.
Yeah.
But just had to be there. The crowd. It took until like the 7th inning until the fans realized, oh, we should start doing the wave. They were so distracted by everything.
I like the new rules because the games are so short now. I mean, it was today was 2:15, something like that.
It was quick.
2:20. It was a great game. How long did that take last night?
2:52 or 2:53.
Almost the usual game time, right? The old game time.
Wow. Yeah, David Rosca, respect the Expos avatar. Love the Expos avatar in the DNVR Sports channel live on YouTube. That's where you get your comments in there, where we'll read them. Anaheim Angels dominated last night. I mean, I don't think they're called that anymore, but they did. They did dominate.
Yeah, it's still the LA Angels now, but I grew up with Anaheim Angels out that way for a little bit. Spent some time with those back in the Carew and Reggie Jackson days. So
wow.
Yeah.
Brian Downing. Let's
Yes,
go
sir.
there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, came by these gray hairs naturally.
Let's go by with I can't think of his name. Chuck the lefty. I just drew a blank. He was married to Tawny Katane. Oh, that's on you, Mike. That's
on me.
you.
That's totally on me.
Vlada, they got beat by 3 touchdowns. Yeah. So that was the interesting thing. So on Friday night, Elias Díaz hits the first grand slam since September of 2021. He hit that. So we went 256 consecutive games without a grand slam. Just a weird anomaly, but 2022, they hadn't hit any. Okay, fine. Rockies would have needed 7 grand slams in the 8th inning
to catch up,
to have won that game. Tiff, audible laugh from Tiff. She's like, I don't have to know a ton about baseball to know that's stupid.
Insanity.
7, not 6 grand slams. I think they would have tied it at that point. 7 would have gotten the job done. Insanity.
Just one loss. Just if you're gonna bleed it all out in one game.
It was a 2-flusher.
Yeah.
It was a 2-flusher. The game here was a fun one that the weekend starts off. We do a show on Friday pregame as we typically do, and I start my notes thinking about the weekend. Like, I got to write this down. This is interesting. It's so not interesting now, but I wrote it down, so I might as well say it.
Go. I love this.
Jurickson Profar steps into the plate, batting leadoff, bottom of the first. Pitcher gets called for violation. Automatic ball. He throws a pitch to Profar, who hits it out for a home run on a 1-0 count.
Wow.
Was that a first pitch home run? Because the count was 1-0. He just hadn't thrown a pitch. That's baseball in 2023.
Exactly. Well, today's the first day I saw the walk without them actually having to throw the 4 pitches.
Intentional walk. Just go to
walk,
first.
just crazy. Yes, that is a first pitch home run.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think it is too.
Yeah.
Just because the count's 1-0, you can magically have a ball
There still
when you
hasn't
step
been
into
a
the plate.
pitch. Yeah. Totally agreed.
That's strange. How are you liking the new rules? Do you think baseball really needed to kind of refresh its sport just a little bit? And it's not like we've got drones calling balls and strikes, and hey, you're allowed to have some kind of laser or missile or a sniper on the roof shooting balls out of the sky if you need to. We're not getting that crazy, but just kind of modernizing the sport just a little bit.
I like it a lot. I like a lot of what's come. I was talking with folks that I'd gone to both of the last 2 games with about some of the pieces that they miss, some of the in between innings stuff and some of that. But I think the speed of the game is so much better. Yeah. I actually love the outsized bases for the steals and stuff. That's been fantastic. The pitch clock brings a whole new element to the game strategically, hitter and batter both. Most all of it has just been fantastic. But intentional walk, I sat there for a second just trying to figure out what the hell was going on until they announced it over the PA, and I like it. I like even that. Take away 4 more pitches for the pitcher. No real opportunity for something to go haywire that way. They've made a lot of great changes. I think the game is in my opinion, better off for it. So what about you? What do you think?
No, it's great. I think it's fantastic. Again, different when you're covering it, and
Sure.
it's not like you want the games to be quick and like, hey, get over.
Yeah.
But when they can just run on, like, how that would be a curious thing too. That didn't think to look up because just so much happened. Every other time a team scored 25 runs, or even a game there was 26 runs scored. How frequently did that game get under 3 hours? Like a 25-1 game, like we saw Saturday
Still under
night,
3 hours yesterday.
is going to be an easy 4 hours. Like
Absolutely.
if it was 3:30, you'd be like,
Yeah.
that was kind of quick.
Yeah.
But those games are 4-hour games, and we just don't have that anymore. And so I kind of liken it to the director's cut. And you watch it, and you go, oh yeah, there were some deleted scenes I didn't see. It was cool. I see what the director was going.
Yeah.
But there's a reason those scenes were cut out. It's not important. Let's keep it to a tight 2:15.
I mean, even for folks who are in a position like yours, right? There's they just cut an hour off of every game every year, basically, right? 162 games in a year. You just got almost a week of your life back, basically, right? From that perspective, and I don't think it's taken away from how interesting the games are. I don't think it's taken away from how fun the games are. It just makes for a better pace more than anything.
Yeah. I worried that, and I don't think I heard fans, kind of pre-complaining to make up a word. I did hear it a lot when they talked about the netting going around. I'm not going to be able to see and whatever. And then no one said anything because you just kind of forget that it's there.
Yeah.
I think it may have cut down on some like autograph opportunities or balls getting tossed in. Like, I got these seats right along the railing or on the the edge of the field. I can't bend over and get balls like I used to. But the safety is overwhelmingly,
I was gonna say, anybody
positive.
who's ever seen somebody hit by a ball loves those nets. I'm so glad they're up all the way down the baselines.
For sure.
I mean, it was nice to have it behind the plate, but all the way down,
The scorchers,
better for everybody. Yeah.
There's still an audible kind of gasp on some of those that go down. Like, oh my God, it's gonna.
Yeah.
Thank God for that net.
Absolutely
But people
right.
really weren't complaining ahead of time about this. Like, hey, these games are gonna go so quick. I'm gonna miss so much if I go up to grab a hot dog or a beer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're gonna miss something anyway.
Yeah.
Your conversations, might be a little bit shorter. You have to work around it. But for the most part, now you can actually stay for a whole game. I think
Absolutely
it
right.
might create more baseball fans than losing the diehards who are gonna be there anyway.
I know a lot of folks who wouldn't go to a baseball game because it was 3 hours or more long. I don't know too many folks who aren't going to go to a baseball game because it's under 3 hours. And I think that's exactly right. I think that's where you start to pick up a little bit more of the casual fan. I think in a lot of ways, baseball doesn't do itself favors by having long games, doesn't always do itself favors by waiting 162 games for a playoffs, things like that. For folks who haven't been fans for their whole lives, they don't necessarily integrate into that idea of, I've got to watch how many? Wait, how much am I investing into this? I think it makes a big difference. I hope it does bring more fans around.
Yeah,
I love the game so much. I would like to see younger generations kind of pushing towards it more than you see a lot of folks now. So
I think Shohei Ohtani is doing a good job on promoting the game in so many ways.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he is a sexy player where you watch him, you're like, man, I gotta play baseball. He's just exotic in that way. I think that those might be the right words to describe him in a sense.
I think that's perfect. I've seen more away jerseys at a Rockies game in my past. I've never seen more away jerseys for a single player than Ohtani jerseys at the park today. And every time, he didn't even have to be up to the plate yet. He'd be warming up to be the next batter, and the crowd started buzzing and people started standing up and taking pictures. He is a big draw right now for the game, and rightfully so. He's remarkable. Everything he got a hold of today was still just blistered, whether it did anything or not. My God, the strength he's hitting with.
It was exciting seeing him
Unreal.
hit that triple there just to the deepest part. And you knew as soon as he came out of the box, just like a gazelle moving.
Yeah.
Again, if you got any comments or questions, go ahead and drop that in the chat in the DNVR Sports channel live on YouTube. The other thing, to your point, more Ohtani jerseys than any other individual player. Also, a lot of different variants. You saw ones where from Team Samurai from the World Baseball Classic.
That's right.
I think there were a couple minor league ones. Actually, I saw a Pierce Johnson one from when he was a pitcher from the Hanshin Tigers, which was pretty cool. So
Saw a ton of throwbacks. Saw some all-star jerseys of his. Yeah, all kinds of stuff of his there at the game, including stuff that was in kanji across the back. So
I did see that a lot.
Really hot. I loved it. It was really cool.
Yes, we would like to have maybe an Ezekiel Tovar jersey written in kanji, but there's why? I don't know. Why not?
Zeke was hot today, but I don't know about a kanji
yeah.
jersey.
But Bud Black, to start off the weekend, of course, was we talked plenty about Shohei Ohtani. In fact, here's what he had to say on Friday going into the series about just how special of a player Shohei Ohtani is for the Los Angeles Angels.
Well, think about it. We're not able to watch it a lot, right? Because we're playing along the same times, and I'm watching all 15 games. I'm not zeroed in on every single game all the time. But from periphery, from afar, Drew, right? You can't help but notice the talent, and this year really especially how good he's playing, both on the mound and with the bat. I mean, leading the majors in home runs. And throw the ball really well. So, how unique is that? So I think in this day and age to have one player so talented in two drastically different positions, it's remarkable. I think everybody can use superlatives to write about it, but we're witnessing a special player in front of us, and it's not one of those things where we'll look back, when his career's over and marvel at what he's done. That's remarkable. It really is.
Ohtani did get to homer on Friday night, his 25th MLB leading homer and the 200th of his professional career. He ended up hitting 48 over in Japan, has 152 here now in America.
I think the way Bud said it was just right on the nose. Years of comparison to like the Babe and stuff like that, right? And even Babe didn't pitch and hit with the regularity and consistency that Ohtani is. He's a one-of-one type of a guy, and getting to be that close up and just watch. You're right, on the triple, man, he took off, and he was standing at third before I was ready for him to have crossed first base. He just moves. And that ball took off like a rocket. I would love to go watch him play more. So
he's exciting. And
incredible.
Then after he's up, because I'm trying to get video and like, hey, let me record his at bat if something happens. And then immediately after you catch your breath, you go, oh, Mike Trout is up now. Like, come on. Like Trout started the 3 homers on 3 consecutive pitches. The homer that Ohtani hit, though, I didn't see it until that night. Kyle Freeland, as soon as the ball got hit off Ohtani's bat, he swung around. He said, how the F did he hit that? And then post-game says, that pitch that Ohtani hit, there's only one human being on this planet that has any business swinging at that pitch, and that's him. And if you look at it, it was like 2 baseballs off of the plate, like on the inside. Like it was a ball.
Yeah, there's no way he should have taken a swing at that ball. It was
amazing. Yeah. Trout, Ohtani homered, and then Trout homered right after that. They go back-to-back, 4th time this season, 9th time they've done that since they started playing together in 2018. Ties an Angels franchise record for 9 back-to-back homers. Trout and Pujols also did that, so Trout and Ohtani will figure that out at some point later on in the year as well.
What does it take when you've got a Mike Trout batting cleanup and he's a bit of an afterthought in how all of the...
He really is an afterthought.
And they still can't make the playoffs. And I still can't... I don't... You've got those 2 guys stacked back-to-back, and I still can't figure out how they can't put this together to get themselves in, because what a blast to watch those 2 get to play.
Yeah, very exciting. Thiago Souza says, all things considered, we won the series.
That's right.
That's what you got to hope for. Again, these young guys learning it, and learning that when you lose and you get your butt kicked in, like you come back and like that's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
You can't get too high either, right? You could have a 4-for-4 game, and then you got to turn around and play another game.
That's right.
Like, that's just how it ends up working.
Well, that's it. I mean, we were talking about Zeke a little bit ago. He had a heck of a day today. That dinger was no joke.
Yep.
And then his other RBI, what a sweet hit that was. He got a hold of a tough pitch there. So
He's part of a couple double plays, which you like to see.
Yeah.
Ryan McMahon was fantastic again,
So
defensively. HT in our chat on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube agreed. Hey, a series win is good, but is also True. Only second win in 11 games if you include that 8-game losing streak. Thanks, HT. I mean, you're right, though.
It's good
you
math.
are right.
It's good math. I can appreciate that.
That's it. And David, of course, has to be here, Angels fan, because, hey, Bud Black was the pitching coach on that team in 2002. So we'll definitely give you a pass on that one in general. And we're also hope that you, if you've been passed up or you've been injured, more importantly, you got to make sure you call the folks over at Backus and Schenker at 222-2222 because they've been doing it here in Denver and Colorado for over 25 years, and they've won their clients over $1 billion in damages, and they do it all for free, which is the great part. They're going to consult with you for free. You can give them a call. They'll even work on your case absolutely for free, and they don't get paid until you get paid over $1 billion. They've won their clients.
I love that the Nuggets guys try to figure out who was Backus and who was Schenker out of every game. I would say Tovar was absolutely Backus today, but that play way back behind third base by McMahon, I think that's absolutely a Schenker right there.
That was I haven't seen Nolan make a play.
What a throw.
Play that deep.
Yeah.
He was in the outfield.
Yeah,
he was in the outfield. And who was running down the line? Mike Trout. Folks.
By about a half a step, caught him.
Gold Glove Award winner, maybe All-Star Ryan McMahon. We'll see.
I think he's got is tied for the records for runs saved at third base right now. They put that stat up today, so he's on track for it, man. He's been looking great. I think
he's going to. I've wavered. I've gone back and forth because really it's just going to be about the other All-Stars in the National League and like, all right, what spot do we have left over? That's who we might take for the Rockies. But I really do think Ryan McMahon is incredibly deserving of a bid. And Backus and Schenker, they're going to let you know if you're deserving of any of those funds too. Again, give them a call, 222-2222. You enjoying seeing the segues up close?
That back up. That was really
Are you
good.
enjoying experiencing the segues in person in the flesh?
This is crazy. I've first time in the chair. So thanks
Segue pod. I'm just going to have a podcast of segues where I'm going to slip in ad reads and weird subliminal messages. I work for the government. And Backus and Schenker will work for you for free because Backus and Schenker wins. All two lows, all
really
2 2 2s. Did you get your tickets on Game Time? And if not, why not? Because you can use code DNVR and get $20 off your first purchase.
I did, but I've already used my code, so I didn't get my $20 off on this game. But yeah, of course. I mean, Game Time is the way to go. You got to try.
Yeah, it's a gift either way because for a big series like the Angels, and we've got another one coming up this summer against the Yankees. There's a midweek one against the Astros, so that'll have a little bit of juice. But the Yankees, that series will be really big. So the prices are going to be up. But with Game Time, a lot of people are trying to get rid of their tickets at the last minute. They can't go, whatever it is. You could pick up one, at least maybe even just to get you in the door. You wait up till about an hour before the game time starts. Ticket prices can drop even as low as 60% below the face value. And you know what? If you're going to a marquee event and you just want to get in the door, hey, save $20. Pocket that money with code DNVR over on Game Time tickets.
Have gotten some crazy deals there if you're willing to be patient till the last minute. So yeah, good stuff.
Speaking of deals, Mike Moustakas traded to the Los Angeles Angels. Picks up his.
Do you think he just walked?
He did.
Yeah.
He just walked across. And then, this morning, everyone still went over to talk with him like they were missing. Like, hey, man, how you been? Are things still changed over there? Or it's like it literally hasn't even been 24 hours.
I mean, it's kind of convenient that way. Maybe that's how all trades should be. You should have to wait until you're playing the team that you're traded to, and then you can just make the trip over to the locker room next door. Maybe not. Well,
maybe the Rockies and Angels know something. Maybe they actually do believe that because the prospect that the Rockies got, 23-year-old Connor Van Scoyoc, I think he was a fifth-round pick in the 2019 MLB draft, got kind of close to first-round money. So playing really well in 11 starts, sub-3 ERA in the Northwest League. He was suited up for the Tri-City Dust Devils, Angels High A affiliate. And they were playing the Spokane Indians, High A affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. He got traded, so he did the exact same thing.
Just the way, man.
Walked across the ballpark at Avista Stadium. Can't make these things up.
You have that in-depth knowledge. This is why I watch. You and Susie talk about this stuff at a level of depth that I can't find anybody else talking about the Rockies.
So you're enjoying it. I appreciate that. Can you use it? So to me, it feels like useless information, and I still get paid to, spout these things out, but can you actually use that info?
I can in conversation with friends and other fans, but more than anything, definitely not useless for those of us that are still following along. As much as even when the Rockies are having a tough time, there have been years I'd like to give up, but they're just baseball is my game, and I love watching this team. I wish that they could make the altitude adjustments sometimes that some of the other teams in town seem to have, but just can't quit these Rockies, man.
Well, I appreciate that you're kind of able to use it, and
yeah, for sure, very much so.
Keep it going, and maybe be influential. Basically, I'm like a poor man's Dale Carnegie. Right, like how to win friends, influence people, and
talk about the Rockies.
Talk stupid shit about the Rockies. Like that's kind of my brand right now, in so many ways. So Moustakas, I guess we could say we saw a familiar face, but he never really left. We did officially see a familiar face in Carlos Esteves. He didn't pitch at all this series, in his first time back since signing a 2-year deal with the Angels last offseason. I thought he'd get 3 years, 20+ mil, because of his value to a clubhouse and the back end of the rotation, or back end of a bullpen. 19 saves. He might even be an all-star this year. We'll get that video up on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. You can hear he talked with us for about 10 minutes. It was absolutely fantastic. But he was all set to warm up in probably the top of the 9th on Friday night. But then Elias Díaz hit that grand slam, so his opportunity to save the game didn't come up. We know he wasn't needed on Saturday, didn't pitch on Sunday. So you may have seen Esteves just kind of walking around in general. We just didn't get a chance to see him in the game.
Had really hoped to see him play after the kind of season he's having. But, yeah, like you said, just timing didn't work out. We'll see. We'll see where the rest of his season goes. But he's playing such hot baseball. So much fun to watch.
He's been great. It's wonderful to see him have success, and coming in through the opposite end of Coors Field was very strange for him. But here's actually what he had to say about some of his favorite moments when he looks out at Coors Field. He spent a lot of time there, 20th and Blake. Here's what he had to say about his favorite memories at Coors Field.
My debut for sure against the Dodgers. The house was backed up. Also, I was talking the other day. I was gonna go pitch. We were winning, and I was gonna pitch in Father's Day. So I remember the walk-off homer with Nolan. I'm the one who came in behind Wade Davies, and I bases loaded, 2 outs. I struck out Buster Posey, and then we won it. That's what comes to my mind with keep the game right here. However you got it, just keep us here. And that's one thing for sure I had to tell it to the other guys in the bullpen, because that's one of the memories I want to keep with me. And I really felt like I helped the team win that game, even though we were losing when I came in. And that's what I tell everyone, man. Just however you get the ball, try to keep the game right there. If whatever you give up on, who cares? This is baseball. Things are gonna happen. This is a game of failure, and things are gonna happen. And also all the walk-offs that year, we had 12 walk-offs in a year. That was really fun.
He was a good Rocky. He really was. I think he'll always see himself as a Rocky. This was the organization that raised him. This is where he spent his early formative years as a player. And players don't forget that. They don't forget how they were raised. He's a good Rocky, good teammate, good guy. I think all the guys who have played with him over his tenure here will look back and not only say, hey, he was a very talented pitcher, but they'll say, that was a good guy, man. Carlos Esteves, good guy, good teammate.
Esteves, man, he was great. He was great to have around.
He seemed. You were just telling me, but he seemed so great for the locker room. Yeah. Tell me more about that. You got to see that stuff all the time. I'm outside all of that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all the guys in the clubhouse, Rockies. That's kind of one of the key pieces they like is they want to have that chemistry. It might not necessarily be a winning chemistry, and I don't say that in any kind of negative way. It's just the chemistry of hey, we need people to really jive well with each other. And Esteves was that guy that kind of bridged some of the Latin American players and some of the American guys. So he was able to do that even as a pitcher, just a big teddy bear. I mean, he had Dragon Ball Z statues in his locker. Like, just a fun guy. He's got a family and he loves his kids, and just a positive dude.
It's so cool. Dragon Ball Z even got TIFF. So see,
there you go.
There you go. That's
she's
awesome.
She's enjoying
Big anime
that.
fan.
We got a Dodger series that we'll preview, of course, on Tuesday with Jesse Friedman from the PHNX Diamondbacks. We'll probably let him talk about how exciting the Diamondbacks have been this season, just a little bit.
This division, man.
The Rockies home run celebrations. Like, again, we're probably on the more old school end of the spectrum when it comes to baseball, but I'm fine with baseball evolving. I think it needs to. I think it should.
I do too.
And the home run celebrations have definitely become a big thing. And for the Angels, they got this gigantic samurai helmet, which we've got on our Twitter account at DNVR_Rockies. Massive, couple $1,000 it costs. It already got chipped a little bit, the little dragon that's on it. But
How long have they had it?
Only this season. I know they need a special carrying case for it.
Yeah.
But do you think we're going to see one for the Rockies? And if so, what would you like to see? They need
would
to
it be?
embrace this, don't they?
Yeah. Could you? I mean, something mountainous seems a little too simple. You'd have to mountain goat. Could we? What do we do? How does that work?
There you go. I've been thinking just something with a cowboy hat. I mean, you might as well do something.
In hockey, it's pretty common to see like guys pass around like a chain or a hat to like whoever they in the locker room thought was like the best player of that game. So I think I don't know, maybe like a hard hat.
Oh, putting in work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We're putting in work. They do have an
that a lot.
MVP chain this year. In years previous, the Padres are the first one to get it going. Probably just a spray painted, piece of plastic with the team's logo on it. This year, and Nick Roque wrote about this over on The Athletic, and we might as well just say that their MVP chain is looks like it's real gold, but it's a golden pair of truck nuts. So that's their MVP chain.
How about all that?
Might as well have some swagger.
Something
Enjoy
up
yourself.
against the sternum that kind of thumps a little bit. I like that.
That's it. We can see they're crazy, but now we know they're. Anyway, the London series. I don't know if you got it. I honestly didn't get a chance to watch a ton of that or any of the highlights. I know it was Cubs Cardinals, but baseball advancing and trying to branch out. The World Baseball Classic. Hey, it's the world. Great in theory. This one, NFL has done it going over to London and play. And so you got Cubs and Cardinals after you had the Yankees, Red Sox do it in 2019. Important for the game to try to branch out to Europe a little bit.
I think it's huge. I didn't get a chance to pay attention as much this year either, but I definitely caught up post game strictly from the perspective of I thought the WBC was just incredible this year. It was such a great set of games to watch. Had such a ball with it, and I hope that continues to facilitate the game worldwide because it's such a great sport. It didn't seem like they were as thrilled about these games as the Yankees Red Sox either.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Just from what little I read about attendance, it was good, but not as great.
Really?
And you would have thought. I mean, I'd only read that, so let's validate that before we know it's true. But I would think that Cubs Cards would be the kind of draw that Red Sox Yankees was. But I guess those are the marquee teams that maybe even worldwide everybody understands is the head-to-head.
And they're coastal too, right?
That's
like
true.
Boston and New York. And Cubs and Cardinals, they're kind of on down years. Who are the superstars that you're like, oh, we get to see Cody Bellinger?
Yeah, that's fair.
Nolan Arenado?
That's fair.
But again,
But how many people know Nolan Arenado outside the States, right?
not as sexy as a judge or as exotic as Ohtani and stuff.
That's
so
true.
that's going to happen. So that will be interesting to see how MLB responds to that. If some of the numbers are down a little bit, they also lost all their momentum. I mean, it was 4 years ago that they did. Obviously, the pandemic, totally wiped that away. So that's a disappointment. Paris seems to be like the next place that they might host a game, and now that would help build a lot more appreciation of the game outside of the U.S.
Hadn't thought about that, but somebody like an Ohtani is such a smart idea from the perspective of not only he's such a big draw for the game anyway, but the fact that he's an international player. Go ahead and lean into that and play your international games with folks that are from outside of the States anyway. So really, it's a smart take. That would be
Yeah.
a good way to maybe really start pulling people in.
Yeah, next April,
Awful.
Rockies and Astros will be playing in Mexico as part of the Mexico series. That was an exciting
blast.
one. Giants Padres earlier this year, and Rockies played the first ever game outside of the U.S. and Canada back in '99 against the Diamondbacks. Vinny Castillo was really great right there. Hopefully, Alan Trejo will be up at that point. Rockies did make some transactions ahead of Sunday's game. Nick Mears got promoted. He's been pretty solid down in AAA, so another nice reliever. And then to take Moustakas' spot, Michael Toglia did get called up, but did not get a chance to play in the game. That's, as we said earlier, let the kids play. Montero's playing at first base, so that's really great. We'll see what happens when CJ Cron comes back. We did get a couple updates on him. He is playing in the Arizona Complex League in games, and he might not even have a rehab assignment. Like, if he's going to be ready to go, those veteran players, they can essentially reject a rehab assignment.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they can come right back. And so
Wow.
if you're a veteran guy and you're ready, like, I don't need to go to Albuquerque for 4 games. Like, I know my body. I know I'm ready. Let's get this going. So it'll be interesting to see how Buddy responds when you essentially have got 3 first basemen. Totally can play a little bit of right field fairly well.
Yeah.
Montero can play a little bit of third base relatively well. Notice how he slowed down there. But still, it'll be hard to balance that. You got to let the kids play. The thing that the Rockies are good at, they will get their young guys. They'll call them up, and they'll buy them a lay flat seat to fly to Denver, but then an upright seat on the bench. That's kind of the way that I've had to pinpoint the way they've gone about calling up these young guys.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Montero, I thought Montero had a nice game today, but you're right. I mean, if Cron's back, you're pretty stacked at that spot, and not necessarily with great places to stick everybody. Where does that all play out? It'll be interesting. I really, your article from last weekend, I really loved it because I think it is. It's time to let the kids play. We're at a spot in this season from a record perspective and have only piled on since you wrote it. Let's let those kids get that experience. We're not coming out of this season with anything special anyway. Let's get some of that time in,
Do you have any hangups about losing 100 games?
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more than I have a hang up about losing 25-1, apparently.
There you go. There you go. I wanted to ask if you had any thoughts on the future of Stadia. Look at me talking all smart. That's a plural of stadium?
Yeah.
Or stadiums?
Stadia?
Stadia?
Yeah. No, you're right.
I don't know. Again, I'm pretending. See, the veil is down. I'm a fan.
No. I was buying in.
Stadias. Nah, I really am wrong.
Stadia. Sure.
But the future of Denver places where they play games at.
Perfect.
Do you think it's inevitable that at some point the property in the area around DIA does get developed by somebody, more specifically Stan Kroenke? And I have an interesting theory about how we could actually get there. It's 30 years down the road, but
I mean, it's also 30 miles outside of town. Do we still get to call them the Denver somethings?
I know, right?
Where is that? Is that still in Colorado, I think?
Sure.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, Rockies can keep their name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That area just still hasn't really developed up very much. So are we 50 years away from that? I don't know. Stan Kroenke obviously, owning the Nuggets and Avs and having Ball Arena and that being prime real estate, moving Ball Arena. Well, you're not going to move Ball Arena, but you're going to have a new arena. The DNVR Arena? Yeah. Hey, we'll see.
I like
but
that.
You develop someplace new with that, and I don't know what that looks like or where that could be or when that would be.
I mean, it's interesting because I love having all of the stadia. Let's do that downtown. I think it's really great to have everything sort of aggregated and collected that way in the midst of where everybody's at anyway. Out there by the airport, I'm not sure that helps anybody besides the visiting teams, really, right? So just less travel, right? So I don't know. That'd be really interesting. Too much of an old timer, but I hope they stay right where they're at, I guess. So.
Yeah, it would be weird if Todd Helton 2.0, like the next franchise player, owns a place in Commerce City. You're
exactly.
I'm not ready for that.
Is that right? Yeah,
I'm not ready for that. That doesn't make sense. Well, I was thinking, the big story in MLS, obviously, and I think they've kind of finalized it. I know that they've got little things going on, but Lionel Messi is coming to MLS, and
to Miami.
I guess he's just going to own the league too. I don't know.
Anyway.
I think they're going to change the name of the league to just MSS. You know what I mean?
I love that. It's too old for most of the crowd, but it feels a lot like when Pele came to New York, and soccer actually took off in the States in the first place. I think Messi coming to Miami is going to make a huge difference in how many people. I'll bet those Rapids Miami games are going to be amazingly well attended, right?
And so that's the question. You're not going to play that at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. You're going to play that in a much larger place. I was actually at the David Beckham game in 2007, sold out Giant Stadium. It actually was where the New York Red Bulls played their games at. They just didn't sell any seats in the upper deck when we would typically go, so you didn't have to change the venue. But that's where I started thinking, like, obviously they're going to play the game at Mile High. But, Kroenke and the Broncos and all that relationship. What about, and since we're going to make things up, or I'm going to make things up, here we go.
Here we go.
What if Inter Miami and Colorado Rapids is actually played at Coors Field in exchange for a small minority ownership of the Colorado Rockies? Do the Rockies, it's got to be worth Dick Monfort's worth. It's got to be beneficial for them. And so I don't know what that looks like. Is it some kind of exclusive deal for, the next couple times where Miami may come to town? And with the MLS schedule, it's not necessarily even guaranteed that every year Miami will play. Could be every 2, could be every 3. But something like that, at least to say, look, just give me 1%.
Yeah, give me a piece.
Now we can start talking. And in 30 years' time, when maybe you're thinking about leaving Coors Field, because now new lease was signed ahead of the 2019 season. Actually, I think it was signed ahead of the 2018 season because the 30-year lease was about to end after the 2024 season. You got to get your ducks in a row. It's going to be 7-8 years to build a new stadium.
Yeah.
So Monfort, good businessman, has to say, hey, if we're going to build a new stadium, we should know now, unless we had a lease situation. Oh, by the way, we'll stay here if you want to lease us for 100 years. This property across from Coors Field, and we could build McGregor Square. That's a really nice deal that really kind of works out for everybody. That was kind of the machinations that went on behind that. But when that lease is up in 30 years, Kroenke says, hey, come on board. We've got the DNVR arena where the Nuggets and Avs play, and lacrosse, if you care about that. And then also we can build a brand new ballpark. I don't think any of us want that, but crazier things have been said.
I was even going to ask you as you went through all of that, because that is interesting. It's really interesting. Do you want the Monforts owning any more sports properties in Colorado as a part of that? It's an interesting idea. I love all of it except for where you've got it placed, basically, so far out. But
it's true.
Yeah, really cool.
Kroenke would then own 4, or at least part of 4 of the top 5 franchises in town.
He'd probably have to keep everything in the trust the way the NFL's got him. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think the lease runs out in 2047. Possibly.
Does anybody else have something like that? Does anybody else have everything in town? I don't think they do.
Another city?
Yeah.
No. I'd be hard pressed to try to think of all that. I mean, Philadelphia does, and at least their stadia are all in the same general area near the airport, I should say, because that's the one knock. Is like, if I was coming in from another town and I'm thinking about what series I want to go to, I don't know if I would be as interested in coming.
I think you're right. I think the
Denver
Pittsburgh
because
fields
of that
are that
drive.
way too. I think down near where everything. That's right.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. They just don't have NBA.
Yeah.
But like San Diego, San Diego is a place where the Rockies go there now twice a year. It used to be 3, but I've legitimately. I don't even need to take an Uber, depending on how frugal I'm feeling. I can fly into the Denver airport. This is how cheap I can be at times, people. Fly into San Diego airport, right? Jump on a shuttle over to where you get your rental car. Walk half a mile to 3/4 of a mile to a train station. Boom, that goes right by Petco.
And half a mile, 3/4 of a mile walk. That's good for you, right?
And when I do that walk, I'm in Little Italy, so I can hang out there, grab a slice or something. Like I like
that whole
traveling to San Diego.
Actually. Yeah.
I like doing that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, they got to improve the public transportation a little bit. And it's better. I know Union Station it's just it's really far out.
It is.
And I don't mean that in the Colorado hippie sense.
Yeah,
I mean it's far out location.
Yeah, it is a long train ride. So
Mike, this has been a lot of fun. I want you to go ahead and plug away, even if all the plugs have to just do with us at DNVR, but let folks know where they could, listen to more of your stuff, read more of your stuff.
I'm easily found here on the weekends. I write a column called The Weekend for DNVR. You can find me on Twitter or most of the social spaces at Visible Mike. And thanks for this, man. Just a kick in the butt. I've always wanted to be sitting up here, and it was good to come down and watch the game today too. So
yeah,
always appreciate you, Patrick.
Hey, we always got the games on at the bar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of this sort of thing, right? Got the Rockies games on. Sound might be turned down a little bit at times. You know what I'm saying?
Folks have to come check this out. I was asking the gentleman down at the bar about there's something mounted under the television now ever since the Nuggets championship. There's a decibel meter here, folks. You've got to come down and make a little noise in the DNVR bar. So
we're going to try to do a meetup, actually. We were just talking with Renee Deckard and Sam Bradfield from Purple Row. Like, let's do a DNVR Rockies Purple Row mashup, meetup, hang out with everybody, and kind of just celebrate the Rockies community and just have fun because, we love baseball. We want the Rockies to do well, and that's out of our control, but we can at least control the decibels and how much fun we have,
Exactly right.
That's it. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I can be found. And Mike, thanks for giving us tons of momentum. But unfortunately, you know what they say about momentum in terms of baseball and podcasts?
All good things.
They say it's only as good as your next show. Unfortunately. That's it. It's only as good as your next show. We're not going to flush this one either,
your next
like the
one will
Rockies.
be great.
It's going to be a great one. So we'll see you, of course, right here, live on the DNVR Sports Channel on YouTube, Tuesday at 1 p.m.